Chapter 3. Sunshade. Diffuse shadows of organic structures shift in the gray, blurry haze of the monitor display. The picture sharpens and the cross-section of a plant leaf comes into view. Like green cinder blocks, tissues are separated by white strands that run in parallel along the leaf. A hand reaches in and spreads thumb and index finger to zoom into the live picture. Single cells appear in a yellowish fluorescent glow. Cytoplasm sluggishly moves around a nucleus sphere that seems dented and shrunken in size. A finger swipes across the screen and other, similar cells come into view.
Nope.
A resigned voice sounds through the lab.
They won't make it.
A series of clicks can be heard as different light filters and refraction settings are activated on the microscope. The illuminated cells fluoresce in white, blue, and finally red.
See here?
A finger points to the upper section of the screen. A dense array of reddish dots is riddled with tiny openings, revealing glimpses of the gray cell wall beneath. The small gaps slowly spread and rip larger holes in the protective layers, leaving large chunks of cell walls visible through the gaps. The AMA student's long brown hair swings around as she looks up at her supervisor.
Definitely overloading the heat shock response.
She expertly says.
This batch will not make it.
She declares, leaning back into her chair. Her lens supervisor nods slowly while she stares at the screen.
Yeah, too bad,
She says.
I'm sorry, Aria.
Well, it was worth a try.
Aria shrugs with casual indifference.
2 weeks down the drain, but hey,
Aria sighs inside.
now I know it's not working.
She frowns at the failed experiment and the lost time. She gets up to turn off the monitor and looks at the dying cells one last time.
Maybe the whole species is not adaptable. Maybe we just found its genetic borders.
Her lens supervisor grins and winks at her.
I hope you're just talking about this plant here.
What?
Aria asks, but catches her supervisor's joke.
Oh yes, of course. This as a species? I give us a chance of 1 in 3.
Aria winks back at the lens with her vibrant smile.
So, what are you going to do with this plant?
The supervisor crosses her arms and leans on the lab bench. Next to her, a bamboo plant sits in its nutrient container. She casually slides the bamboo plant toward Aria.
Give it another chance? It's still the variant with the highest carbon dioxide uptake, and you only have 2 moons to finish the assignment.
The Len watches Aria's face intently. This is a crucial point in the assignment. The student must accept that some limitations cannot be overcome. The simple lesson: obey nature before you command it. The student's reasoning should finally lead to the insight that the study goal itself is flawed. The advisory board gave Aria this assignment to see if she would be suitable for advanced studies. Now her supervisor is curious how Aria will respond.
I'm not sure. I'll have to think about it. Maybe we are looking at it wrong.
Aria shakes her head.
What do you mean? What did we miss?
Her supervisor senses that Aria is not quite ready. Her sometimes overly simplistic view has yielded surprising success during her studies. But this is different. This is not about biology, but about conquering pride or accepting humility.
I don't know.
Aria says, looking at the gnarly bluish-green bamboo plant that is clinging to life like Aria to her assignment, unwilling to give up. The supervisor feels sorry for Aria's indecision, but she friendly pats her on the back before leaving the room.
Let me know by next week what you plan to do. Maybe you'll find something. Wouldn't be the first time.
Aria lowers her gaze, blushing. She still feels embarrassed about the incident, where she intuitively solved the function of an unknown peptide during a freshman workshop, showing off and impressing senior scientists and professors alike. The low whisper of the air conditioning is the only sound in the lab as Aria gazes at the bamboo plant. Quietly, she talks to the plant.
Well, D7.4, look at you. You're a real tough little scrub. Salinity, drought, water, you take anything, except for heat.
Aria looks at the segmented small bamboo shaft. She pushes away terms like respiration coefficients or a photosynthesis efficiency. She imagines the plant growing on arid heat-scorched plains, leaves exposed to a relentless sun.
What's the real problem here?
Aria stands motionless, arms propped up against the bench. She looks intently at the leaves and their attachment to the shaft. Her eyes wander down to the gnarly roots and their nutrient suspension. Little air bubbles peel off the roots, jittering up to the surface. Just like the complex web of the bamboo roots, Arya starts to wander obscure, less trodden paths of her mind.
Why can't you change?
She implores of the plant. Deep in thought, her eyes widen as she stares at the leaves. Her own words resonate deep in her memories, and her mind wanders back to her school days.
People do change, Pertin. You just have to let them.
Her own younger voice calls out from long-forgotten memories. Pergin's contorted expression of hate appears in Arya's mind. It was the day when she broke up with Pergin and Chiron. Unmoved, she feels her own tears again, the pain of leaving their comfortable relationship. She recalls her own self in those days and smiles sadly. Her school days, the quest to find the perfect triple, clumsy crow hands pressing her chest muscle, arrogant lens and boring classes. Arya leans in and absent-mindedly rotates the plant around its axis. Its leaves tickle her fingers.
Evren, sweet, sweet Evren, it's not your fault that we could not help Corin. And Ray?
Sorrow overcomes her as it always does when she thinks of Raylan, the fascinating, loving, romantic, indecisive Raylan, shielding his life from reality. So cold.
Oh, Ray, where are you going with your life?
Arya sighs to herself, trying to focus on the problem at hand. Gently, she brushes her pinky finger across a bamboo leaf, unsure if she caresses the Raylan in her mind or the real leaf in front of her. She positions a spotlight next to the plant, flooding the bamboo leaves with its bright light.
How can I teach you to take the heat, hon?
She gently talks to the plant. Cocking her head, she examines the texture of the leaves. Pulling a leaf toward her, she watches the shadow of the bamboo stem wander over the leaf.
I can't give you sunscreen.
She whispers.
Or sunshade.
After a moment, Arya jerks upright and lets go of the leaf. It springs back up into its position in the piercing brightness of the spotlight.
A sunshade,
She whispers. Suddenly, someone knocks on the door and opens it without waiting. A towering crow ducks his head under the doorframe and enters the lab.
Hey, what's my favorite AMA up to today?
He grins at Arya and approaches the lab bench with sweeping strides.
Holding sunshades.
Arya replies distractedly as she turns off the spotlight.
What?
Puzzled by Arya's mysterious words, the crow's brows deeply furrow. He points at the bamboo plant in front of Arya.
You mean like cocktail umbrellas? Out of this?
Arya frowns incomprehensively, but then draws him in for a hug and laughs.
Chiron, you silly Willy.
She quickly kisses him and sorts the plant back into the row of bamboo plants. While she puts the lab bench in order, she tells Chiron,
No, it's just an idea I have. I have to discuss it with a botany AI in the library.
She puts her arm around his waist and looks at him.
Enough of life science. How's your essay coming along?
Phew, tough. I can't find any new angle, right? Everything is just copy and paste ideas, or more like plug and pray.
Chiron frowns at his geography assignment. Long-term solutions for the Verloran conflict. The socioeconomic aspect.
Well, there's still time.
Arya says and reaches up to kiss him.
I believe in you.
She adds with a smile.
Let's get a bite to eat.
Good idea, Amma. Actually, I'm hungry right now.
Chiron swoops her up, holding her tight against his chest. He puts his lips against her neck, nibbling at her soft skin.
Yummy scientist brain, right?
He growls playfully.
Nom 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 nom.
Arya laughs and tries to wind herself out of his embrace.
Stop it. I need my brain. Eat yours.
Frowning, Chiron puts Arya back on the ground and lets go of her.
Why? Because I'm a crow and I don't need a brain.
He folds his arms and looks down at Arya, upset about this notion.
Is that it?
He inquires heatedly, fixing her eyes.
Whoa, Chiron.
Arya says, surprised.
What's the matter? I didn't even remotely think of that.
Arya is taken aback about Chiron's sudden emotional attack. She knows that some crow at the university have become very outspoken about their perceived intellectual maltreatment, but she never thought that Chiron would be susceptible. The crow shakes his head in apology and reaches out for Arya's hand.
I'm sorry, Arya. I'm sorry.
He sighs deeply.
It's just in my head. It's always in my head.
He looks down at Arya's hand.
And sometimes I overreact, right? I'm sorry.
Arya accepts his apology by patting his hand. She turns to the door and casually notes,
That's why you are one of the few crow who I really like.
Chiron's brows furrow as he follows her.
Wait, what? One of the few? Who else do you like? Arya?
He swiftly closes the door behind him, sending a rush of air across the shivering leaves of bamboo D7.4. So now Arya is in a triple with Chiron and Everin.
Yeah, so who are you to judge me?